Well, here to break it all down for us is, and this is how we'll start off with our weekly recap from Meet the Press.
Good Sunday morning. The closest presidential contest in modern history is entering its final stretch. And with just 9 days until Election Day, Vice President Harris and former President Trump are making their closing arguments. Trump focused on a message of fear. Harris casting Trump as a threat to the nation's democracy. In a series of interviews with the New York Times, Mr. Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, retired Marine Corps General John Kelly, warned the former president would rule like a dictator in a second term.
I'm looking at the definition of fascism. It's a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy. So certainly, in my experience, those are the kind of things that he thinks will work better in terms of running America. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Vice President Harris, joined by high-profile surrogates, including Barack and Michelle Obama, is leaning into a closing argument centered on attacking former President Trump as a danger to the country, an approach campaign officials believe will help her win over the small sliver of undecided voters and motivate her base.
I mean, it's certainly not the joy thing anymore. They've really leaned out of that one. The whole thing initially was joy. Kamala Harris was joy. Not much joy in this message. This is, this is grim stuff. They're just dropping fascism, hoping that really people will catch on to say that Trump is like a new Hitler.
Right.
One piece of evidence for them is that like there was a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden in like 1938, and now in 2024 there was a Nazi rally. There was a Republican rally in Madison Square Garden. So they're like, they're trying to make the connection. My problem is like you can think that Trump is a reactionary, a bigot, which I think he is, but to say he's Hitler, especially after he already spent 4 years in office, and whatever you want to say about his time in office, he wasn't exactly Hitler. I just don't know if this one's going to land, and perhaps, just perhaps, for once, Democrats could focus on the issues where they are actually better. I think domestically,
right,
in terms of workers' rights and reproductive rights, but they're leaning into the fascist thing, and we'll see if it works. My prediction is that it won't.
Yeah, I mean, they love leaning in on former Trump people. They love it because everyone who stops working for Trump seems to hate him. But I'm always wondering why they worked for him in the first place. I get how they think it's a good omen, though, to get someone who used to work for the enemy, who's now talking smack about that enemy. But yes, I think that they're, and I think Trump is more authoritarian than Harris, at least more overtly. And you can argue about whether that's maybe more dangerous or less dangerous, because maybe the Democrats are fascistic in a more subtle way that we don't realize. But yes, I do think that the economic issues are things that they should be focusing on. But the problem is, Aaron, they don't really want to focus on those things because they don't really care about those things. They care more about decorum.
Great song about this. It's called "They Don't Care About Us." It's by an indie artist named Michael Jackson. Yeah,
yep.
I check him out if you haven't heard of him. They don't care about us. It's a protest song.
Yeah.
Okay, before we continue, let us know in the comments, because we're an interactive show.
Yes.
Let us know in the comments how we're sounding audio wise. Can you hear us? Are the levels okay? That's the level of involvement we engage with you, the audience, in our shows. We let you tell us how we're sounding, so let us know. And back to it.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I also believe that the people who know him best on this subject should be trusted.
General John Kelly, Donald Trump's former chief of staff, said that Trump told him he wanted his generals to be like Hitler's generals. In politics, a good rule of thumb is don't say you want to do anything like Hitler.
All of my hope about Kamala is also accompanied by some genuine fear. Fear for our country, fear for our children, fear for what is coming our way if we forget the stakes in this election.
I mean, fair enough for her to have that fear, but it does kind of contradict what Kirsten Walker said initially, which is that Donald Trump is playing up the politics of fear, and then Michelle Obama is saying, "I have fear." So they're both doing it, for different reasons, and it's fair to have fear. I mean, it's a legit human emotion. I'm just saying, is both sides are doing it, no matter who has more right to be fearful.
Right.
It's the fear election. It just is.
It's the fear
Everyone's
election,
afraid of everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trump's afraid of mythical undocumented immigrants stealing everyone's job and committing crime
And voting.
and
Apparently.
voting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And voting. Yeah. And Democrats are fearful of Trump being the new Hitler after he somehow failed to become Hitler the first time, because Hitlers generally don't leave power after they get defeated.
Excuse me. Yeah. I mean, I do think that and I've been very critical of the Dems for not doing more about Roe v. Wade, because I think that they'd rather fundraise on it and fearmonger about it. But I will say that Trump is, I understand people's fear of that, of
Totally.
reproductive rights under Trump. Yeah.
100%.
Even scarier than non-existent, undocumented people not voting, but
100%.
allegedly voting. Yeah.
100%. I wasn't like criticizing the fear. I'm just saying is that,
Right.
if you are fearful, then you have to own it too,
Yes.
which is, and it's fair to be fearful. It's,
Yeah. That's
certainly-
another good slogan. Fair to be fearful. 2024.
Former President Trump on defense.
It was phony stories by a general that got fired, and he's a whack job, total whack job, a general. It's funny.
Can I just say how? Sorry, I have to say it, but I have to.
When
you have to see
you
him looking up.
fire
Hold on,
people,
sorry. It's really insane that he doesn't have a better makeup artist on hand. Just the whites around his eyes are so much brighter than the bronzer on the rest of his face. So, I don't know. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence in his executive abilities if he can't delegate that well.
The text behind him says deport illegals now. Maybe deport Trump's makeup artists.
True. Now. Yeah.
Really terrible job.
Yeah. Terrible.
see, Biden has never fired anybody, but when you fire people for doing a bad job, they get a little bit angry.
The vice president will deliver a closing argument speech on Tuesday at the Ellipse, where former President Trump spoke shortly before the January 6th Capitol attack. NBC News has learned Harris plans to contrast Mr. Trump's worst moment in office and what a second Trump term would look like with what her campaign calls Harris's optimistic vision for the future. On Saturday, former First Lady Michelle Obama appealed.
Oh, fantastic. More January 6th content nearly 4 years later.
Yeah.
The issue that I don't think most people care about anymore. I could be wrong. I'm not out
or
there.
If they care about it, they're like motivated base anyway. It's not going to make any difference.
Yeah. For example, like Jack Smith, like the special prosecutor. Does anybody care what he has to say anymore? Is anybody paying attention? I mean, the problem is there's so many issues in the world. Democrats are fueling two catastrophic conflicts at the same time. Infrastructure here is not in a good state. People are struggling. But Democrats really want to lean into the January 6th and the former Republican now speaking out against Trump thing. And there's like a so-called moderate electorate that might appeal to, but will that be enough to carry them over the finish line? I don't know. It seems very similar to what Hillary Clinton did in 2016. And that was like when Chuck Schumer said that for every working class voter we lose, and Wisconsin will pick up like 2 moderates in the suburbs of Pennsylvania or something.
Yeah.
That didn't work out.
To American men, focusing on the issue of reproductive rights.
If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage.
For his part, former President Trump will use a rally tonight at Madison Square Garden to deliver his closing argument.
We'll stop the invasion of criminals into our country, and I will bring back the American dream for your children and for yourself. This is all you need to know. Kamala broke it. I will fix it.
It sounds like Trump is saying he'll make America great again.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, I mean, like, why not give him a shot? He's never had the opportunity before.
Right.
Like the first time, I mean, that was just like a test run. That's his
Right.
first time in office. You can't really make America great again when it's 2016. But in
It's
2024,
a warm up.
yeah, this is the time he's going to make America great again. This is it.